We're back, SK Twins TV. We're back live here, and we're going to have a little live discussion now, talking about the origins of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and how certain influences when its inception was happening were kind of are now forgotten about when people talk about how the Brazilian, like modern version, came about and who the creators are, and who the actual creators are of the art, where it actually came from, because there's a lot of confusion as to their origins and the people who influenced people like Helio Gracie and his father, um, the people who influenced Count Maeda, the guy who taught them, went over to Brazil. So we're just going to discuss all that kind of stuff in a laid back fashion. Maeda, the guy who taught them, went over to Brazil. So we're just going to discuss all that kind of stuff in a laid back fashion. Here at SK Twins TV, and I've got my brother here. He's got expert knowledge on the topic, so we want to talk about this. There's a lot of confusion, and we think that grappling's got to a time now where this kind of stuff needs to come out into the forefront, and there needs to be an understanding of this kind of stuff. And what I mean by this kind of stuff is the true origins and where the actual techniques originate from, who actually developed them, and who's just taking glory for them, if you like, with no disrespect though, to people like the Gracie family, especially people like Helio, who actually put himself on the line and went and did challenge people, and accepted all challenges and fought live on TV and fought in front of huge crowds in Brazil to defend his family name, to prove that it works. But the thing was, the truth is, the stuff already worked because it was already proven in judo and Japanese jiu-jitsu. So
It's a deep topic, and
it's a very, very deep topic, and I don't want to just skim over like that the way I was doing there. And so we're going to actually, we'll start
when you talk about
from a proper place.
when you talk about jujitsu, basically you need to go as far back into you have to go all the way back into like ancient India, basically where you had monks. Obviously, this is disputed. A lot of people have got an opinion on where it comes from, but a lot of people they've got a collective understanding that the idea of jujitsu, which is can be translated to the gentle way, um, is basically it came from you can say ancient Indian monks who were um, they were basically they were kind of observing the surroundings around them
And the movements of animals and stuff like that.
they're watching as the story goes the monks they're watching the trees um, they're watching the trees and they're noticing that the heavy rainfall is hitting the branches and it's making the branches heavy and the certain branches that were longer uh, the water would hit the branch and obviously the branch would get heavy and it would spring back up because it was lighter and longer. So from this, the monks they first got their idea of like of leverage basically. So by watching the plants and the trees and the branches and stuff like that, they realized that their own bodies could move like this as well. And from that, they developed yoga. Um, and this went on for a very long time before monks from China actually visited India in ancient times. They visited like ancient yogis who they understood obviously jiu-jitsu, what we call jiu-jitsu today, which is basically the understanding of leverage. Um, so they taught yoga and leverage to these Chinese monks. And these Chinese monks then took the yoga and these understandings of letters, they took it over back to China and to the Shaolin Temple. This is where a lot of people agree the origins of Kung Fu and a lot of Far Eastern martial arts, Oriental martial arts, a lot of the roots are from this little trade of the understanding of yoga, um, meditation. Um, So, funny enough, jiu-jitsu is associated with Japan, and it's associated with Brazil, and it's associated with all these places, but it's never really associated with India, and it's never associated with China either. Um, because you notice that
which is interesting.
there's a lot of grappling styles in China, a lot of grappling styles in India and China, which they closely resemble judo. The throws that are in judo and the throws that are in traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu as well. There's a lot of grappling martial arts in India that
Oh yeah,
resemble closely even submission grappling. So you can say when you're talking about the history of jiu-jitsu, you can go as far back to India and then to China, and then from China you can say from there it was kind of integrated by the Japanese. They went in and they kind of observed and like they learned like they learned about karate as well. Actually, karate other than jiu-jitsu, karate is another thing, a martial art that actually came from China first. So the Japanese learned a lot of what they knew from the Chinese. And so yeah, you've got then the knowledge was then passed on to Japan, and who then obviously further developed it and evolved the art, and they named it Jiu-Jitsu. And this was the martial art used by the ancient samurai,
which is basically
warriors.
MMA. If you look at all the aspects of Japanese
Well, that's what I
jiu-jitsu.
was just about to say. That the Japanese, what they do, what they done back then, is what's most closely resembled to today. You can say. You know what I mean? What they were doing in China and India, you can't say that that's closely resembles. The oldest like practice of it that resembles what people do today is what the Japanese were doing, basically. That's what they do today.
Yeah.
So from there, you can say,
How did from Japan? How from these techniques from jiu-jitsu? How did they develop judo from there?
oh,
And judo became the common practice.
judo comes a lot later than submission wrestling and well, just submission fighting in general. Judo by itself is actually only I think
It's not the 1800s. Judo was
late
formed.
1800s, yeah. So Jigoro Kano, who was a master of Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, and he was one of the elite judokas in the Kodokan, and he decided to develop a system of Jiu-Jitsu which was more simplified, and it basically could be used as an everyday source to keep yourself healthy and active.
Was that because see at the time was there loads of people factions breaking off from Japanese jiu-jitsu and like more focusing on the waza, more focusing on throws?
No, it's because Japanese jiu-jitsu is such a broad martial art that basically the need for a lot of the techniques was not necessary, but there was a lot of techniques there that could still be used great for self-defense. But
Yeah.
you look at old videos, not ancient, but you look at old videos from the 50s and 40s and 30s and 20s and that, and photographs and that. Well, see, when people talk about self-defense, it was always Japanese jiu-jitsu techniques. There was never anything else. And you look at the Gracie jiu-jitsu as well today. You look at a lot of what they teach in their self-defense programs. And all, it's basically
identical to what Japanese jiu-jitsu is in judo.
Self-defense aspects in Japanese jiu-jitsu and judo. So, yeah. So from there, how does it become Brazilian? So this is what you're probably thinking.
No, you need to like so judo. Like let's explain judo first, or how judo became an entity.
Well, judo it simply became an entity because the need for a lot of these techniques was irrelevant. Because people need to understand that Japanese jiu-jitsu is a complete martial art of striking, and takedowns, and joint manipulation, and weapon fighting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very broad martial art. So the need for a lot of the techniques, a lot of the disarming techniques, a lot of
wasn't really needed for competition, stuff like that.
For everyday self-defense, it wasn't necessary anymore because as societies were becoming more civilized. So basically, Jigoro Kano, he developed judo as a style that was basically could be practiced by anybody. It was like he developed like a sport
version of
Japanese jiu-jitsu,
taking out lots of elements. Only really focusing on throws,
the battlefield element, taking out all the samurai, the kind of ancient techniques that came from the samurai times. They cut all that out, and it was more hand-to-hand self-defense, strangulation techniques, and takedowns, and joint locks.
The arm bars, yeah. And
they kept all the joint locks and strangulations.
yeah.
So that's where judo comes from. And judo's obviously became a very prominent Olympic sport as well, and the whole world practices judo now. So it's a fantastic martial art.
But it's still, they took one side of it.
Basically, it's not the original thing. They went away from the original thing. The original thing, you can say then, uh, you can say, um, see the schools, the Japanese schools, which focused more on submissions
Yeah.
and joint locks and just attacking for joint locks. Those schools, you can say, this is where you start to see like the origins of catch wrestling, where that comes from, because the origins of catch wrestling is really just these Japanese jiu-jitsu practitioners who were emphasizing their training more on submission.
On actual submission finishes,
finishing each other submission.
Yeah.
These guys then were like bumping into wrestlers from all different nationalities and experiences, and they were bumping into martial artists with like old styles of wrestling with grappling and with submission elements. These people were meeting and they were trading techniques and they were exchanging knowledge and they were testing each other, and through these different encounters that different martial arts and different athletes had back in those old times, not ancient times, old times. This is where you can. This is like the develop. This is like how submissions, like these chokes, started getting
became more of a
wrestling.
focus. Yeah, became
started getting adding into like old folk style wrestling,
which spread in England and spread all over.
It's a very very complicated topic because you can see folk style wrestling. There's a version of it pretty much on every walk.
Every walk of the earth, every part of the world has their own traditional form of wrestling.
Even in Brazil, where Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is obviously very prominent, before the Gracies even became prominent, started spreading the Jiu-Jitsu and calling it Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, there was prominent luta libre practitioners in Brazil and in Rio at the time. And luta libre is basically, it's a Brazilian catch wrestling. Okay, so it's throughout the world there's styles of wrestling. So in Pakistan and India and Iran, there's an ancient style of wrestling called Pelwani or Kushti. And within Kushti, there's lots of grappling and elements of joint locks and manipulation also. So you can see that the origins are very complex. It's very difficult to kind of put your head around the exact origin of where it comes from. There's so many different countries that have contributed, and so many different cultures that have contributed too. My biggest quarrel is that in this day and age they associate basically the development of a lot of this stuff in Brazil only. The reality is the influences are from many countries, really. So you can see, so catch wrestling basically.
How did from there? Because we went on sidetracked, but how did from judo then? Who was it from there that became a prominent figure and they went to Brazil and they spread it there?
So basically, you can say throughout the world, jiu-jitsu was being taught. Now, this is another misconception that people don't really realize. The Gracies got taught Japanese jiu-jitsu from a Japanese jiu-jitsu master.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what people don't understand. They think that like they came in and it was something different. So basically, Mitsuyo Maeda was a man who traveled. He immigrated to Brazil and he befriended Gustavo Gracie, who was the great grandfather of the current Gracies. And Gustavo Gracie was a.
But to explain how Maeda was Kano's student.
Well, yeah. So Jigoro Kano.
Why he left?
Yeah, so he left. So Mitsuyo Maeda, he was actually sent away from the Kodokan because he participated in prize fighting and contests where he could earn money and test his skills. And this was like it was
basically no holds bar fighting, Vale Tudo, MMA. Basically, he was doing back then.
So it was frowned upon. So he was kind of shunned from the Kodokan. He had to leave And there was a lot of Japanese jiu-jitsu masters at this time doing this. This isn't exclusive to Count Maeda or exclusive to anybody really. This was something that was going on where you had these Japanese masters in Japanese jiu-jitsu. They were traveling, and remember when I say Japanese jiu-jitsu master, I mean several different styles of Japanese jiu-jitsu. These are all masters in specific styles of Japanese jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Okay, so Count Maeda, Mitsui Count Maeda he was a master in a specific style of Japanese jiu-jitsu as well, which was he was more focused on the ground. He was more focused on submissions.
Yeah, that's what he wanted to do more.
He was heavily influenced by his encounters with wrestlers and carnival fighters and martial artists of different styles throughout his travels. This is actually how he befriended Gustavo Gracie, because Gustavo Gracie actually witnessed his talent of prize fighting.
Yeah, watched him fighting. Yeah,
Gustavo Gracie actually ran a circus. He ran an actual circus event.
Yeah, because the Gracies come from a wealthy background. They were a rich family.
And basically, Count Maeda would fight on these carnivals and he would make a lot of money. He became quite prominent and famous from this. And in return, as a favor, Gustavo Gracie asked Count Maeda if he would teach Carlos Gracie jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
As he was very troublesome, he was very misbehaving, and he had no kind of direction in life. He was kind of like a spoiled little kid. And his dad, as a favor, the Japanese master taught Carlos Gracie jiu-jitsu, Japanese jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So, and you need to understand that, see, the style of Japanese jiu-jitsu that was taught to Carlos Gracie was it was already a hybrid style of jiu-jitsu. It was already a highly effective, more submission-based style. Um, I believe it's a myth that the Gracies have developed and focused more on the guard position, cementing off the back.
That's bollocks. It's bollocks.
And all these things, because no, it's all complete bollocks. As yeah, so what point are we at right now? Because there's a lot of information here. You don't want to kind of.
So you just from there then. So Maeda then. So he was in Brazil competing. He met Gustavo Gracie, and then from there, their business relationship began, where he went home and he agreed to teach his kids.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a business agreement. It was just like as a favor. So they trained with. I think they trained for like 10 years with uh, with Maeda. So
So it was Carlson Gracie, and it was the other brother, which was Horian.
Horian, no, not Horian. That's the son.
Oh, sorry, not Horian.
It was just Carlos Senior and Junior, and
it was Helio.
Yes, so they trained.
And there was the other Gracie that they don't talk about. Remember?
Yeah, there's a few. So yeah, so the style that was taught, and you look at all the old school jiu-jitsu masters that are out there, all the red belts, and if you've had any pleasure to train with any red belts in Brazilian jiu-jitsu or coral belts or red and black belts, you'll see that their style of teaching and the way their style, their technique is very, very heavily influenced by the Japanese style.
Very heavily based.
The self-defense is so intricate.
All the gi chokes, everything, all comes from jiu-jitsu.
The strangulation, the throws, the control, pretty much every single aspect. If you train under any one of the lineages, the original lineages, other than the Gracies, because obviously there was other families that learned jiu-jitsu as well from the Gracies, like the Fada lineage. You have the Oswaldo lineage. You have the Bering lineage. You have the obviously you have the Machado lineage. These are all people that trained with the Gracies and learned that original style from the Japanese, which is so heavy influenced on the self-defense and the strangulation chokes with the gi, the control, and the submissions off your back. You know, so yeah, the Japanese have heavily influenced what people train today.
So from there, basically, then that's what we're getting to is they taught them, and then obviously the rest is history, really, isn't it? What Helio and what have you done with it? They spread it further from there. But the problem with all is they're not bad people. What they done by any means, they spread it. They should still spread martial arts and still spread jujitsu, which
They're
comes from
changing to
Japan.
Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
That's what they shouldn't have done.
Yeah, they're not. They're
So,
trying to say it's specific to them, but that's all to do with.
because even the moves, so we've talked about all that, which is good. So now let's talk about the moves, for example, like the Kimura, stuff like the Kimura. The fact that that comes from catch wrestling, a double wrist lock, and they're
Well,
calling it a Kimura because the guy Kimura who faced Helio Gracie from Japan Kimura'd him, so they named it Kimura as if it was a new move, but it wasn't. It comes from catch wrestling, and it also comes from Japanese jiu-jitsu and judo. It's known as a double wrist lock. That's what they call it as well.
well,
In
every
Japan.
single position that's in modern day jiu-jitsu, you can say it's in catch wrestling and it's in judo,
Yeah.
and it's in Japanese jiu-jitsu. The guard position in judo, it's in Japanese jiu-jitsu, it's in catch wrestling. Triangle,
Every single grappling move.
figure four configuration, every single type of guillotine, like all your Bravo chokes and all your Darce chokes and all your foot locks and your heel hooks and your knee bars and your arm bars and your Kimuras, and you name it, your omoplata, people call it. I don't know why the fuck they call it omoplata, but it's a coil lock.
Yeah, it's a coil lock.
Basically, every single submission you can say is from the Japanese and it's from the catch wrestlers. The Brazilians didn't invent these submissions as they were going on. They were going
They
on.
just
for a
took
very
credit
long
for
time.
it now.
They took credit for it. They made it more popular a wee bit, I guess.
And they've added belts in, and they've just said
They've added belts.
that.
Yeah, they just adopted the Japanese belt system, the judo belt system. Actually, they adopted.
So that's basically it in a nutshell.
They've gotten the belts a wee bit.
You see that later? That's like a skimmed version for you of the history of where it comes from. All factually accurate. It's,
well, yeah, obviously we're going to get bits and bobs wrong. We're not sitting here like what Joe Rogan and like Brendan Shaw. Those guys, they sit with like they fact check everything on Google. They've got a little guy, little Jamie in the corner checking all the facts.
Well, we've not got a Jamie hiding in the corner.
I'm pretty confident what I'm saying is there'll be a lot of people agreeing with me about the origins and the kind of common perception these days is pretty much wrong.
So basically, what this video, the point of it is just people need to just, as the sport's getting really big now and it's growing, it's just important for this kind of stuff to be more commonly acknowledged and just accepted and appreciated because it's the truth. And it's important for people to know what the true origins are. And people want to know. And especially as the sport's growing and it's evolving, and it's not all about these silly rules that the IBJJF have brought out before and kept and stayed so strong with for a long, long time, and they wouldn't budge. And now people are pushing more submission-only tournaments, which are bringing out the true elements of grappling and showing like all these different moves and locks that people are thinking are new in jiu-jitsu, but really they're not new. They come from catch wrestling. They come from Japanese jiu-jitsu. They've been used for hundreds of years, and it's good. It's a good thing, man, because the sport's basically forced for this kind of information to come out more and be more commonly talked about. And you'll start seeing more and more people talking about this kind of stuff. But yeah, that's all for now. And we've got a show coming up on November 25th, Muay Thai K1 show. Anybody in Scotland, you can phone up for tickets. We've got SK Gym running in Livingston every night, every weeknight, Muay Thai classes. We're bringing in BJJ classes really soon after we affiliate our club with Rick Young from Rick Young's Academy in Edinburgh. Anybody who's anybody in the world of mixed, of not just mixed martial arts, but martial arts in general, you have heard of Rick Young. He is a master and he's a true ninja. And really, yeah, you should look him up and check his life out. He's pretty awesome. We want to soon enough. We're gonna get an interview with the man himself as well. But yeah, we're gonna get affiliated with the man. We'll be doing BJJ classes as well. Things are getting good. Things are getting busy. We're keeping things sharp, keeping things fresh. And we're bringing out a new video every couple of days now, keeping busy, talking about combat sports as this sport and as a whole. The universe of combat sports is moving really, really fast, and things are changing You've got amateurs now selling out arenas, KSI and that Logan, what the fuck
KFC
his
and
name
fucking
is.
Joe Rogan.
Yeah,
Joe
like,
Logan.
I
What the
mean,
fuck his name is.
so combat sports are like changing as we know.
Obviously, nobody's gonna see this that, but like, obviously, if they do, fucking good. But see those two pussies, man, I'd fight them for fucking 100 million or whatever the fuck they made for that. No problem, man. Give me fucking 1 million. Not being cocky, guys, man, not, but like, give me fucking feed me, put me on a fucking high tech diet for fucking 10 weeks. I'll whoop the two of them. We're
I'd beat both of them on the
lifelong
same night.
martial artists, man. Honestly, I've got students. Seriously, let's be real here, man. Like they're not fucking. They're
You're going to
not.
be seeing videos of our gym really soon with people training and what we're doing and the guys we're building up and them competing. You're going to see a little glimpse of what we do on a daily basis. So we're not just guys talking about this like most of these journalists. We're guys who live it, breathe it, think about it every single second of the day. And yeah, we love doing it. So we're going to
Well,
bring
the
you some fun.
unconventional way of doing things, man, a little bit more relaxed on that, but we've got all the core fundamentals and details are there in place for success and for people to do well and develop correctly. Because as I've said, lifelong martial art, I've been in the game 20 odd years, so pretty much know what's up. So
So we'll be back with another video talking about the UFC in the weekend because there's some good fights on. There's some boxing as well, to be honest. No, I was going to say, is Anthony Joshua Povetkin. That's this Saturday as well, so that's going to be a good fight to talk about. So we'll be back on our video really soon at SK Twins TV, and see you later.